My avoidant partner broke up with me out of nowhere saying he needed space. Is this so common? I will try to keep it short, but I really feel the need to confront someone. I have my therapy session on Wednesday, so in the meantime I will try here since I have often received very interesting and profound answers in the past. I just ask please do not offend him or me. This is not meant to be a contest of who is wrong or who is right. I just need to clear my mind at a very fragile time. My now ex-boyfriend, with whom I was with for 4 years, recently, 1 month ago, moved to another country. Initially the plans were that he would go, then slowly I would join him, but since he went there everything has in a very fast way changed. When I asked him to find new ways to give us love in this meantime of distance, he totally broke down and asked me for time and space. After about 2 weeks he came to the conclusion that it is all too much for him, that he cannot give me what I asked for, that our kind of relationship requires responsibilities and conditions that right now he feels he cannot give me because since he is in this new place he feels he has to take space for himself since he does not want his choices to fall back on me or affect me as well. Honestly, I am shocked by this, especially since this is not the first time this has happened. It is not the first time he has asked me for space, and I, for my part, feel that some of my displays of affection make him feel heavy. Today, as I was scrolling through TikTok, obviously a whole series of videos came up, on repeat, of what it feels like when your avoidant partner breaks up with you. Usually I try to stay away from these social products, because I find that they minimize and polarize things that are actually much more complex. However, in a moment of extreme fragility I started watching them and realized that they corresponded very much with what happened to me, which is people who were left by their partner at a time when the relationship seemed to be going even quite well because of this avoidant attachment. I don't want to reduce this person into a category, honestly. I think it's, as I said, reductive. However, it gave me a lot to think about, especially because he told me that right now he can't give me these things and it's too heavy for him to work on it now, but maybe by taking some time, in the future, he will. The issue is that I don't think this, especially at this time in my life where I am working so much in therapy to be better with myself and with others, to integrate instead of separating while he has separated everything. Plus basically I had no choice, because he decided this and the only compromise would be to accept that he cannot give me certainty of a stable relationship. Honestly, I am as sad as angry and I would like to point out a number of things to him, because I find it really absurd to behave this way after a 4-year intimate relationship in which, indeed, everything seemed to be going right after quite complex crises. Plus, just during this weekend I was supposed to visit him, but of course it all fell through. I'm so confused and sad. And again, the whole thing is not clear to me, because he told me that he doesn't want to lose me and that he doesn't want us to separate permanently but to take time for ourselves. While I, for my part, would have liked to go through this together. I would have liked him to talk to me about all these things he feels, but instead he didn't. He asked me for time away. Has anyone ever had such an experience? I really feel the need to confront, whether it is someone with this avoidant attachment style or someone who has suffered instead. How did you manage it? Have you ever been able to work this out with a partner? Because honestly I believe you can work on this if you have the will, and I don't understand how it is possible to throw away a loving relationship to have space. Story 2. Boyfriend of 5 years didn't invite me to Thanksgiving lunch with his family. I just wanted to get some ideas from you all to see if I am at all justified in feeling left out by my boyfriend. Usually it would be a no-brainer that this would be unacceptable to most, but I do want to give more context and see if it's more understandable that I was not asked to join in his family Thanksgiving lunch. A bit of a background on his family: he does not talk to his mom really. He has had an issue for years with his brother and his mom sort of favored that brother. He speaks to his dad but they're not extremely close. The ones he considers his real family is his aunt, she's like a mom to him, his uncle, and their daughter, BF's cousin who is in her late 20s and he considers her to be a sister. They are extremely tight and he talks to them and sees them pretty much daily. I didn't meet them until just about almost 2 years ago, which is another issue considering we've been together 5 years, but won't get into that. He explained he was closed off after his divorce, but when I told him I felt hidden, that is when he introduced me. So since then, I've been invited to a lot of events with this family and we get along great. They'll sometimes text me to see how I am, invited to weddings. 4th of July, last Thanksgiving, they hosted at their house just the immediate family and was about 10 of us. My boyfriend didn't have his kids that second half of the day and I didn't have mine either, so we were both there without our kids. Last week, I asked my boyfriend what the plans were for Thanksgiving since I wanted to see him and spend some time with him. My family doesn't throw anything big as most have moved out of state, so it's just usually my parents and brother who come out and spend a couple of hours for lunch. I invited him to do something early with my family and he politely declined and tells me that his aunt has decided to throw a luncheon at a venue, not her home this time. It's a venue their family are co-owners of. He then mentioned it's just him, his kids, since this year he will have them that first half of the day, so they'll join this time, the aunt and uncle, the cousin and her husband and baby, my boyfriend's dad and his wife, and their son. This was the group that was there last year when I was invited, except for his kids. But was a little surprised I was not asked to join. A few weeks ago when I asked about the holiday, he did say you should join. But I think he must have forgotten he even said that. And was before he found out they decided to not host at their home. So we've talked about the holiday a couple more times and he still didn't mention me or me and my kids joining. I get it's not his place to, but given we've been together this long and his family inviting me to holiday dinners, celebrations, concerts, etc., in the past, felt a little bad. He did say that afterwards, when his kids go to their moms and my kids go to their dads, and they're all done with their lunch, he would love to see me and we could spend time that evening and last through the weekend. I wouldn't think it would be right for me to even ask because, like I said, it's not his place, although it would have been nice if he could have just mentioned it to them. And plus, it's all just their family and his kids, so perhaps they wanted to keep it that way, which I can understand, and knowing I'll have my kids, could be a lot of variables. I did sort of mention a couple of days ago when we were talking about it again that he left me out. I said this in a light-hearted, somewhat joking way so he didn't feel pressured or cornered, and so it didn't come off as accusatory. And again, he said something to effect of no, I definitely still want to see you afterwards. This is the first time in a long time I've had the kids for Thanksgiving. It true is I was with my kids and him and his family last Thanksgiving. But I feel after 5 years together, it should not be an issue having your significant other there, whether you have your kids or not. But perhaps he just wanted to experience that intimacy of being with his family and kids, since everyone is married, shares children, etc., and I'm essentially the outsider. Is this something that really isn't a big deal, or a sign of something negative and that I'm not viewed as someone who is that important? Story 3. She dumped me because of a trauma response. How do I move on? I know I need to move on, but I'm struggling. A few weeks ago met this girl who seemed like the girl of my dreams. She was creative, she was sex positive, she was affectionate, and she had a really cool story. I won't give the full details, but she was raised in a cult and had married one of the leader's sons. Her and the son had defected, and after a while realized they weren't really in love, so got an amicable divorce. I know most people would see that as red flags, but I heard that as a testament to how resilient and badass she was. We had a really good 2 weeks together. The chemistry was off the charts, things were great. She kept saying how much she liked me and how she had never felt love before and was wondering if this was it. I know, 2 weeks is a very short time, but I had thought this is my wife. I finally found her. I mean, it really seems out of the rom-coms and BS stories you hear about love. Then last week it all changed. In 24 hours we went from talking about when we would be Facebook official and how I would tell my mom tactfully that I'm dating a divorced woman, to being done. From her perspective, I guess there was a moment earlier in that day that I had pushed in for sex. And I didn't read the room right, so leaned in too much. In my head I was being flirty and playful, to her I was disrespecting her boundaries. But as she soon as made a clear no, I backed off. And that was it, I thought. We even had a good talk about how I'm a bit dense, but she should never feel like she can't say no to me. And then we went on with our night, had our Facebook official and mom talk, made dinner, and then had consensual sex that she initiated. But the next morning she was off, very reclusive. I took her home and didn't hear from her until 10 hours later. She told me she didn't want to talk to me or see me for 3 full days. This triggered me, as I have abandonment issues, and my only frustration throughout the relationship was I felt her trauma overshadowed mine. I felt like I couldn't be heard, and a few times when I had expressed a boundary, please communicate, please give me space to vocalize my needs, and please don't pull the rug out from underneath me, I was vilified and told you're making it about you. So at this point I said I couldn't do that, and if it was the case we needed to be done for my own sanity. She responded with a very aggressive message saying I was being controlling and abusive and I had given her more trauma. And she blocked me before I could respond. I know I should move on. Obviously our trauma triggers each other. But I really liked her so much. I really saw a future with this woman, and felt like I had been given a blessing from the universe. And it just feels like whiplash how we shifted so quickly, and it just further validates my abandonment issues that I've worked very hard in therapy to get through. I'm not asking for advice on if I should reach out. She made it very clear she doesn't want to see me or talk to me ever again. But this hurts a lot. And I know this is a lot of her issues getting projected onto me. I just need some solace and understanding from the world as to how to move on from someone who is so traumatized they couldn't see or hear me. Comment. I'm sorry for the hurt you're feeling and how it's familiar to old traumas. If you aren't still in therapy, I think it would be a good idea to get back in the habit again. It's good for anyone, but can also keep you on top of your response to feeling abandoned. I'm sorry, but the reality is you really don't know someone in 2 weeks. Your idea of her based on that short time is not a true account of who she is as a person. You didn't know her long enough to learn her flaws and see her in bad moments. Not sure if this might help you feel better, but my personal belief is that if someone leaves your life, it's because a higher power was protecting you from something you couldn't see. Yes, she probably does this. Maybe not every month, but I bet many months. She's a man-eater. Better than investing 2 years in somebody who's a more subtle kind of crazy. What a ride though, right? I think you need to step back and conduct a bit of a reality check. You knew this person for 2 weeks. I understand that you feel like you knew her because of all of your sharing, but come on. 2 weeks is not enough time to truly get to know someone. You haven't had a chance to see them around their family or friends. You haven't had a chance to see how they react to the usual stresses of daily life or major life events. You haven't seen them when they haven't slept properly for days, mainly because you have only known them for days. You are viewing this woman and your relationship, which feels like a stretch to even call it that, through rose-colored glasses. You aren't mourning the loss of your relationship with her, but the idea of her. You were with her for 2 weeks and couldn't give her space for 3 days? Brew. I'm not much of a therapy advocate, but you need to consider it FR.